The next stage in ecological succession is the shrub stage. Now, the shrub stage is characterized obviously by shrubs, usually herbaceous, that is non-woody types of shrubs, but there also may be young saplings moving in during this stage as well. As far as the saplings are concerned, some of the early appearing types are such things as alders, poplar. You may see cedars coming in at this point, and one of the very earliest to come in are the sumacs. In fact, there's some sumacs right behind me, and the seed head is a major source of food for birds, especially during the wintertime when food is hard to get. Among the types of shrubbery that appears during this stage are a lot of the berry plants. For example, raspberry. There's a raspberry right next to me in flower right now. Also things such as chokecherry or elderberries. This change or this shift more towards fruit and seed production has a major effect on the type of birds that are found here. For example, associated with all of the different types of fruit that will be produced are the thrushes. They become very dominant. For example, such thrushes as robins or brown thrashers become dominant during this period. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of grass available, and the grass seed-eating birds, insects associated with this, as well as snakes, are still fairly predominant in this stage as well. As far as some of the higher mammals are concerned, this will be a time for skunk, raccoon, and white-tailed deer. We mentioned that during the shrub stage, there are young saplings, that is, young trees present. And of course, they precede the next stage, which is the tree stage. Again, a transitional stage in succession. A lot of the trees that first make their appearance during this stage are not there when we reach the end of succession, that is the climax community that we'll talk about later. The first types of trees to move in during this stage are trees such as members of populus, poplar, aspen, those types. The cedars, as we mentioned before, sumac. You may start to see the appearance of sycamores in wetter areas, such as where we're filming today. Maples, young oaks, different types of trees start making their appearance. But remember that some of the stages of the preceding stage in succession, some of the vegetation, excuse me, is still present. So there'll still be some of the shrubbery associated with the previous stage. The animals reflecting this change in vegetation also change. Now you start to see the appearance of not only deer, but other types of higher mammals like raccoons become more and more numerous. Turkeys, as game birds, start to appear. Birds start to shift, that is songbirds, more towards cardinals, blue jays, titmice, black-capped chickadees. All of these become more and more prevalent. As I mentioned, there'll still be the seed-eating birds to some extent, and especially the berry-eating birds. But we're now getting a shift more towards the end of this whole process of succession, that is, towards the climax community. During the shrub stage, as you recall, young trees were already starting to take hold. And as these young trees develop, they change the habitat that they're found in terms of the soil chemistry, the type of organic matter, and really create a habitat for themselves. As these trees get larger and larger and finally grow into the mature tree stand, the canopy that develops blocks out a lot of the light filtering down to the ground so that the shrub stage disappears as part of the normal ecological evolution in terrestrial habitats. Succession now in the mature tree stage in New York State includes the following trees. Very commonly you'll find poplar, oak, hickory in some areas, although hickory is almost extinct now. Chestnut, also suffering severely from chestnut blight. You'll also find maple, pine, hemlock, and beech, depending on what particular habitat you're in. Now remember, as plant succession continues, animal succession continues as well. In the mature tree stage in succession, you now are in a true forest situation. And a major shift in the types of animals occurs as well. This is now prime habitat for white-tailed deer, for turkey, for different types of squirrels and other kinds of mammals that you normally associate with a forest area. How plentiful they'll be and what type will dominate depends a lot on the type of food available to them. If there are a lot of oaks in the mature stand, then obviously there's going to be a greater amount of nut-eating species. Bird species also shift dramatically. Species such as woodpeckers, chickadees, nuthatches, those associated with the forest will also become dominant.